Hey guys, welcome to our first day of notes. Give me 1 second, I'm going to share my screen so you can see what we're going to look at today, but we are starting our very first set of notes today, and we're going to be looking at some of the physical features of Europe. All right, 1 second, there we go. Maybe. There it is. All right, so like I said, this is going to be part one of our geography notes, looking at the physical features of Europe. So you're going to use the guided notes that we posted to be able to fill out the notes for today and tomorrow to get an idea of how we do notes in this class. But moving forward, you're going to be, after this week, you're going to be expected to take the notes on your own. The notes this week that we gave you, the guided notes, those are just a guide to give you an idea how our notes work. All right, so let's get started. So geography part one, so we're looking at how we can find the physical features in Europe. The first one we're going to talk about is the Danube River. The Danube River travels through 4 European capital cities. It goes through Vienna, which is the capital of Austria, Bratislava, which is the capital of Slovakia, Budapest, the capital of Hungary, and Belgrade, the capital of Serbia. It's the only river in the world that travels through that many national capitals. And there's a reason that it goes through that many capitals. When civilizations first begin to emerge and major countries start to be built, they usually, in fact, always, are built on a body of water. And they do this because that body of water gives them access to trade routes, it gives them access to travel routes. The water, especially from rivers, because it's fresh water, creates fertile soil that makes it easier to grow crops. So it's not a surprise that you see these 4 major capitals all along this river. It's because when people were settling down, these civilizations were being created, which would eventually turn into these major cities, is because they were settling on this river so that they would have those things, that access to the trade and travel, and that access to fresh water for crops and for drinking. All right, so that is the Danube River. Here we have a picture of the Danube River. So there's a picture of the Danube River going through Budapest. All right, so the next one we're going to talk about is the Rhine River. The Rhine River is the largest river in Germany. It's not just in Germany, but it is mostly in Germany. It does go through Strasbourg. It goes into parts of France, like I said, near Bonn. Goes through Köln, Dusseldorf. So it's the largest river in Germany. That is the Rhine River. So you can see a shot of the Rhine River in Köln, Germany. There it is in Dusseldorf. All right, the next thing we're talking about, the English Channel. The English Channel is this body of water right here, and it separates Great Britain from France. And with our next set of notes, we're going to talk more about Great Britain versus England versus the United Kingdom. But for today, all you need to know is that the English Channel separates Great Britain, which is on the northwest, from France here in the southeast. And there actually is a tunnel that goes underwater. It's called the Channel, and it connects England to France. But right here from Dover to Calais, that's only about 16 miles apart. You can actually be standing in Calais and you can see the cliffs of Dover. So it tells you just how close Great Britain is to France. There's just this body of water, the English Channel, that separates them. The English Channel is a major part of defense. To get to England, in the past, before we had planes or anything, you had to sail there. England, Great Britain, it's an island nation. It doesn't touch any other countries. So anytime a country would try to invade them, I'm going to go back so we can see. So France and England were at war for a very long time in their history. Well, if France ever wanted to try to invade England, they had to cross this channel. And because Great Britain is an island nation, they developed the greatest navy in the world to protect themselves. So if you're France, you want to invade them, you have to go across a body of water where you've got the big, gigantic British Royal Navy just sitting there waiting for you. So it helped Britain stay safe from attack, which helped them become a major world superpower. Like I said, the English built a large navy to protect themselves. Eventually, in World War II, the Luftwaffe, which was the German Air Force, they had to fly across the channel to attack England. And we're going to talk more about World War II and the Luftwaffe when we get to history. But just real quickly, Germany takes over France in World War II. So they would set up air bases in France to try to get to Great Britain. They still had to fly across the channel, and England, just like they had done earlier when they built the big navy to protect themselves from boats, they built a large air force, the Royal Air Force, to help combat people flying over. So bodies of water create great natural defenses. All right, the next thing we're looking at, the Mediterranean Sea. It's this very large body of water here. We can see it touches a lot of different areas. So here is Europe, right here. Over here, we're getting into Asia. This is part of the Middle East. This is the Arabian Peninsula. And then we have North Africa. So the Mediterranean Sea touches Europe, Asia, and Africa. And because of where it's located, because of its climate, it's warm, it's temperate, it's very similar to what we have actually here in Georgia in parts of it. A lot of ancient civilizations are going to develop because they've got that access to easy bodies of water. There are a lot of rivers that are shooting off of it, including the Nile right here. So it gives them access to trade and travel, gives them easy access to water. And as a result, you're going to see a lot of major ancient civilizations and superpowers. You're going to see the Roman Empire is going to form right here in Italy. Athens and Sparta and the Greeks are going to form here. The Egyptian Empire is going to form. Eventually, Spain is going to become a superpower. That's all because of the Mediterranean Sea, that access that it gives. So we can see the Mediterranean Sea off of the coast of France. This is a different area in France where you can kind of see it. All right, next, the European plain. This is the first one we're going to talk about that is not a body of water. The European plain is a large area of land. The way we did it on this map is this big gray area. It covers a whole lot of Europe. Comes in here into France, through Belgium, Netherlands, and Luxembourg, northern Germany, Denmark, touches into Austria and Hungary, Finland, and all the way up into Russia. The reason the European plain is so important is because it doesn't have mountains. A plain, if we ever hear the word plain, that's an area without mountains. So the European plain is a part of Europe without mountains. And the reason this is so important, not yet, is because it's hard to grow crops if there are mountains everywhere. So the European plain is a very fertile part of land where it's really easy to grow crops because there aren't a lot of mountains. So the European plain is this large area of land with no mountains where it's easier to grow crops. On the other hand, we do have mountains. The Alps are one of the greatest mountain ranges in Europe. There are a few we're going to talk about, but the Alps go into several different countries. You can see them. This is the mountain range right here. Right here, we can kind of see on the map, that's Italy. So these are the Alps, and the Alps go into Italy, parts of France, Switzerland. We're going to talk about a little bit more about the countries they go into. Those are the Alps. I can see another picture of them there. The next set of mountains we're talking about are the Pyrenees. Now, the Pyrenees Mountains are right here. They separate France from Spain, and they form a border. So the Pyrenees Mountains are the actual border that separates France from Spain. And this is really important because, much like the English Channel protects Britain from attack, the Pyrenees Mountains protected Spain from being attacked by France and protected France from being attacked by Spain. Because if Spain wants to invade France, and then if they invade France, they have more access to the other countries of Europe, they'd have to get over all of these mountains. And if they don't want to cross the mountains, then they got to go through the oceans. So the Pyrenees Mountains are great defense for both countries, and it creates the border between them. The Ural Mountains are a large mountain range in Russia. Now, Russia, we're going to talk a lot about this year. We're going to talk more about them, in fact, later this week when we talk about different countries. But Russia is the largest country on Earth, and there are parts of Russia that we consider to be part of Europe, and there's part of Russia that we consider to be part of Asia. The Ural Mountains kind of go right through the middle of Russia, and we usually consider them to be the border between Asia and Europe. So what's to the west of the Ural Mountains is Europe, and everything to the east of the Ural Mountains is Asia. And that splits Russia right in half. That's how big Russia is. All right, so the Iberian Peninsula. Remember, a peninsula, which you should have learned about in elementary school, is an area of land that is surrounded on by water on three sides. So you have one over here, two, three, and then it's land on the last side. So it's not unlike an island, which is water on all sides. A peninsula is water on everything but one side. The Iberian Peninsula includes Spain and Portugal. Those are the only two countries in the Iberian Peninsula. And it's really, really easy to remember because we have the right here, like we talked about a couple slides ago, are the Pyrenees Mountains. So it's everything that's to the south of the Pyrenees Mountains in the southwest is the Iberian Peninsula. The Pyrenees Mountains break the Iberian Peninsula from the rest of Europe. All right, the other major peninsula we look at is the Scandinavian Peninsula. And it's the northern European peninsula. And here we see, again, body of water here, the Norwegian Sea, body of water here with the North Sea and the Baltic Sea, and then up here, which is more of the Baltic Sea. All right? When we say Scandinavia, we usually refer to Norway, Sweden, and Denmark, which is down here. But when we say Scandinavian Peninsula, we only are talking about Norway and Sweden, these two countries right here. They have an interesting history, which we'll kind of get into. Because they are separate from the rest of Europe, they're going to develop a little bit differently. And because they're isolated, a lot of people in Norway and Sweden, because they're isolated on this peninsula, they all look the exact same. There's not a lot of variation. Most people in Norway and Sweden are blonde hair and blue-eyed, and that's because of their geography and where they're located. All right, so that's it for today's PowerPoint for our day one of geography notes, looking at the physical features of Europe. The next PowerPoint you're going to see is going to talk about some of the political features, the different countries and cities in Europe. All right, but for now, that is it for today. And that's it.